Welcome to the Fishbowl Radio, everybody. My name is Chief, and thank you for tuning in to the Fishbowl Radio here today. This is going to be a great episode, I believe, because we got a lot to talk about, and really not that much time, so I guess let's just get down to business here. I do not have Juicy on the show for this episode. He could not make it tonight, and I neither have Mike Concho because he's doing other things right now, so we'll eventually get Mike Concho on there, slowly but surely, in this time here at the Fishbowl Radio. In due time, easily. So, alright. I'm talking about the Sunbelt Men's Conference, Sunbelt Men's Basketball Championship. It's in New Orleans this year, but the format's kind of a little bit different this year in terms of where they have the games being played at. The first game of the tournament is going to be played in Lafayette, Louisiana. Second game is in Arlington, Texas. Third game is in Statesboro, Georgia. Game 4 is in Boone, North Carolina. Game 5 is in Atlanta, Georgia. Game 6 is San Marcos, Texas. And then games 7 through 9 will be in New Orleans. So the championship game will be played in New Orleans, which is the home of the Sunbelt office. That's where they are located at, in New Orleans, Louisiana. So this format's kind of interesting and a little bit different. So I think it's going to be really good to they probably did it this way to make everything flow more smoothly instead of being in Lakefront, having to schedule all those games, keep moving people in and out. Maybe it was better for travel too, but I think travel for all these teams probably went up. Because like in Game 1, Arkansas State goes to play the Louisiana Raging Cajuns at the Cajun Dome. And that happens at 11 a.m. on March 7th. So the Fishbowl Radio will be over there. So we'll give y'all updates to the game as they come available to us. So thank y'all for tuning in here today. So let me break down how I think this game is going to go between Arkansas State and Louisiana. Arkansas State is the number 9th seed in the tournament, and Louisiana is the number 8th seed in the tournament as well. Both these teams have the same conference record in Sunbelt play. So, in regards to all that, their Sunbelt conference record is 8-12 for both teams. But the only difference is Arkansas State does have more wins than Louisiana does at the time, like for the regular season record. They do have more wins in regards to there. But as of late, the Cajuns have been playing very well in terms of like being able to win their games and be able to... There was a time where we didn't think that the Cajuns would maybe get into this tournament at all. But, I mean, they finished the season 13-18 overall. In regards, they won 42% of their games. Whereas Arkansas State, they finished 16-15 and won 51% of their games. But they both finished with an 8-12 record. So, whenever I usually look at teams, I like to look and see how they've played against teams before and see how they played them against them recently. So, if you take a look at the first matchup between Louisiana Raging Cajuns and Arkansas State, they lost on December 18th. They lost to Arkansas State in Jonesboro 67-79. Then when they came back to Lafayette, Arkansas State dropped that one 77-74. Very close win for them. The Cajuns have won 2 of their last 3 games. If you want to go further, they've won 3 of their last 5. So, who do I think is going to win this game here? It's going to be a very close one, I think, because last game was by a 3-pointer decided it. So, a 3-point win for the Cajuns over the Red Wolves. So, who do I think is going to win this one? Well, as of late, I'm going to go with the Cajuns. I think the Cajuns will get out of this here because they're playing at home. It's going to be a really close one, but I think the Cajuns do go on to play against Georgia Southern in Statesboro. So that's going to be, let's say the Cajuns win that. They'll go play against Statesboro Georgia, was Georgia Southern's number 5 in the tournament. I don't think the Cajuns make it out of the Statesboro, though. I don't think they beat Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern's kind of been a really good team. The Cajuns lost to them in Lafayette, and they played them in Statesboro earlier this year, and they lost by 20 points. So they lost both times they played Georgia Southern. So more than likely, they're probably not going to make it out of there. So if you take Georgia Southern winning that there, they go into, let's see, game 3 when they play against Georgia State. Now, either Georgia Southern or Georgia State. The best team in the Sunbelt Conference this year has been Little Rock by far. They're 15-5 in conference, so they have to be the favorites to win this. Now, South Alabama, they have been really hot lately. They won their last 8 games. But how can you win? Because South Alabama, they're coming into this as a number 2 seed. So they would only have to play 2 games in this tournament. But I think they've won many games in a row for them to continue going with it. So I'm either thinking the number 1 seed or a 3 or 4 seed would win this entire thing. I think it's not going to be, I don't think South Alabama is going to have it. So I'm looking at Texas State and Georgia State winning this Sun Belt Conference tournament. But if I'm going to pick who I think is going to win it, let's see the 5 losses that Little Rock has had in conference play. They lost to Georgia State 70-89. And they lost to UTA, Texas State, South Alabama earlier in the year, and Troy. So, if I had to pick one, I'm going to go with Little Rock because I think they have the more complete team. If they don't get it done, I'm thinking Georgia State's going to get it done. They've been there before. They know how to win this conference tournament. They've won it before. So give me Georgia State winning the Sun Belt Conference tournament. If Little Rock doesn't pull it off, they're my second guess. Now, so that's how I think the Sun Belt Conference tournament is going to go. But we have more than this one topic that we're covering here today. We have had some interesting questions. People have been messaging us on Facebook wondering, we all going to talk about LSU football. I'm like, guys, it's March. We're not even out of basketball season yet. Can y'all pump the brakes a little bit? So, I think the most interesting question coming out of LSU football right now is, who will be the quarterback for LSU in 2020? Now, we've had Miles Brennan. He looks like he's going to be the guy. Like, here's some things that Ed Orgeron has said. He has praised Miles Brennan for his work behind the scenes of the backup quarterback to Joe Burrow in the past 2 seasons. Orgeron has called Miles Brennan a championship quarterback, a player he trusts to lead the Tigers after a record-breaking 2019 season that included Burrow winning the school's second Heisman Trophy. So, it sounds like Ed Orgeron has a lot of faith in Miles Brennan. So, he's expecting him to explode this year, to put it likely. This is what he said: I expect Miles to explode, and I expect him to do all the things that he needs to do to be a great quarterback. Unless someone beats him out, the 6'4", 207-pound junior will take all the first-team reps and practices leading up to LSU spring game at A.W. Mumford Stadium on April 18th. Such a development is unlikely since there isn't a quarterback on the roster who has taken a snap in a college football game. Incoming freshmen T.J. Finley and Max Johnson will take second-team snaps, Orgeron said, and will compete with redshirt freshman Peter Parrish for the backup spot. Brennan had the biggest statistical output of his collegiate career in 2019, completing 24 of 40 passes for 353 yards, a touchdown, and an interception during release spots in 8 games. He's yet to start in a game since he arrived as a 4-star recruit from St. Stanislaus High in Mississippi, and he was part of the 3-man quarterback battle in the spring of 2018 that led Orgeron seeking for graduate transfer options, eventually landing Burrow. Brennan quietly returned to the background, even though the transfers of former LSU's quarterback Justin McMillan and Lowell Narcisse made him the only scholarship quarterback during the 2018 season. The quarterback situation was much more dire than on the surface that year. Brennan was recovered from a back injury throughout much of that season, which made a list of walk-ons as the only options behind Burrow. Brennan hardly made any headlines in the 2019 season when Burrow won every national award for a quarterback, set numerous NCAA Southeastern Conference in-school records. When you're the backup to the Heisman winner, you got to keep your mouth shut, Orgeron said. That's what you do. Since LSU's offseason program began in February, Orgeron said Brennan has been more of a vocal leader. He's seen his new quarterback in the office watching more film than he ever has. I think we're going to have us one heck of a player, Orgeron said. I've always believed in Miles. I believe he's a championship quarterback, and I believe he's going to be ready for this. So, by all means, Ed Orgeron is completely on board with Miles Brennan becoming the starting quarterback for LSU in 2020 for this upcoming football season. So, I think that basically answered it. So, everybody that's messaging us and the Fishbowl Radio and everything, that's your answer. It's out there. But here's an interesting topic that I've been talking with a couple of people around is, could the XFL hurt college football? There was some things that the XFL isn't as constrained like the NFL is in regards to when you could jump to the pros or in this different league. If the XFL wants to remain a viable league, it is possible it has to pay some college quarterback to come over for a season. However, I don't know if it would be really good for a college football player to actually go do this, or an elite high school player. I mean, there's no restraints for a elite high school player. Like, no one prospect can go to the XFL if they wanted to make some money. First off, I think one of the things I think a lot of people need to figure out is the XFL going to survive past 3 seasons? Vince McMahon says he has enough funding for 3 years of the XFL. So, is it really important? Is it really going to be something that you can make happen for your league? So, I don't know. It's interesting to think about here. It's going to be something that I think a lot of people need to figure out what they want to do and what they don't want to do. So, what is it, some things that would be really good for a college football player or high school graduate or high school player himself to make some extra money? Well, they wouldn't be just making extra money. They'd be making a lot more money than what they would be in high school. Oh. Like I said, I've said this before, the XFL will survive, the talent is good enough. Now, if the XFL would go against the NFL, I don't think it would last. That's why we got them in the spring, so people can actually pay attention to them. And it does give them a little bit of a break. Like, if people don't like basketball, they can watch the XFL as a filler. That's what it's going to be designed to do. I don't think right now the NFL currently has a free-form system in college football. NFL personnel know how to evaluate that film. If you move to the XFL, no matter how well you play, they will not understand how to evaluate that film because there's no base for the talent. When you watch college film, you understand why something is happening on the field and know what should happen based on the talent on the field. With the XFL, scouts don't have that opinion formed yet because the league is new. Now, clearly, if you're the best on the field, it's easy to see, but so is seeing the best on the field in college football. And if the new name, image, and likeness rules are loosened, it would allow college athletes to make money off the field, which would lessen the ability of the XFL to grab players out of college. So, I've decided to do a little bit of research And if you type in XFL salaries, let me just start off there. XFL salaries here. Salary average. Because this is going to be important here. Okay. How much do the XFL players? Athlon Sports has an article on it. And they say this. All right. They're incentive driven. Players receive paychecks every 2 weeks, and there are 13 pay periods from December 4th to May 31st. Each paycheck is $2,000, which adds up to a base pay of $27,000 for anyone who spends the entire season on a team. XFL players have 52 players on a roster, but only 46 will suit up for each game. Appearing on an active roster nets a player an extra $1,685 per game, or $16,850 for a full. Additional bonuses are available for playoff games, although the league has not disclosed those yet. So teams will be competing for more than bragging rights and a chance to audition for the NFL as well. Players on winning teams earn a $2,222 bonus per victory, going undefeated would nearly double a player's base salary before considering active roster bonuses. So, in all, a player who spends the entire year in the XFL, $27,000, starts every game, that's an additional $16,000, wins half of his games, $11,000, will make $55,000 a year. That is the number the league is using as the average player's salary with full-times are earning between $43,000 to $66,000. Now, those salaries there compared to the NFL ain't really much. Let me see here. Let's look at average NFL salaries. So the average NFL salary is about $860,000. But some of this stuff is, you see, these numbers are inflated to a certain degree. Because you got players like Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, who have these huge contracts. Like players getting huge contracts in the NFL. Like, we know that Joe Burrow is going number 1 in the draft. He's going to be the first pick overall. Bengals are not going to take anybody else. Even though they're doing their homework on Burrow, we can almost, and like they're been attending Tua and all that. It would be crazy for someone not to try to take that. Like if you're a player, Joe Burrow, and let's just say you're a senior at LSU. Let's backtrack a second here. LSU's about to start their 2019 season. No one knows at all that if they're going to the national championship game or not. Nobody knows anything about it. They haven't played a game yet. And if the XFL would come up to Joe Burrow and be like, look, man, if you can win it, like you're gonna, if you start every game for us, we would love to have you on the team. You would make $43,000. Let's say if Burrow said yes to this ordeal, which would have been like in the spring. But, I mean, I know that the XFL started in 2020. But let's say the XFL was in 2019, in the spring. What if Joe Burrow got hurt? Let's say if he got some kind of hit that messed up his arm and he couldn't throw as good as he used to. Now, all of a sudden, this guy isn't going to make $60 or $70 million on a contract because he sold himself out for $43,000 on a team that wasn't even that good. This is what I'm getting at. You can see this is a big deal. Like you suffer now to get rewarded later. Now, that's an extreme case of a scenario. But I do think the XFL could potentially hurt college football. If there's one way I think it could. Like if players are, like there's some situations that are completely different. Like some of these kids come from poverty and they're trying to make ends meet, or their parents are trying to make ends meet, and they're on a scholarship for a football team. They're an extremely gifted athlete. So what do? It's really hard to tell them, hey, can you wait a year? Can you wait a year before you get drafted? Because we might be entering foreclosure, or we might be declaring bankruptcy pretty soon. This is some real life stuff that these people have to think about, and it's a really hard decision to make whenever you're 21 or 22 years old. So, what decision do you make if your family's in that kind of situation? Then again, you could get hurt during that final season of your collegiate career. Even if you're a junior, you gotta wait 2 years at least before you even get on the field. Sometimes you gotta wait 3 years before you even get in the field in college football. Some college players are gonna jump at this and try to make a run for it, for the money's sake. I mean, that's pretty good money to start out as like a college student. If you're making $66,000 or $43,000 for a college student, that's pretty good money. I mean, I would definitely take it on that offer for a year. And they're not even playing the full season. They're playing 10-game seasons. December 4th to May 31st. So your base pay is $27,000. I mean, that's still pretty good if you're... And if these students are in classes and stuff, let's say if the Houston Roughnecks are obviously in Houston. Let's say if someone attending the College of Houston's like, hey, I want to go try out for this team. You got spring ball, but I don't think they really practice too much on the weekends. They might have a practice or something, but you could probably talk to your coach like, hey, I'm playing in the XFL. Can you give me a break? I mean, he's honestly trying to get better. He's going to have to understand a playbook and different things like that, but it's just a 10-game season. But then again, you're kind of be worried about your player's safety in terms of injuries and stuff like that. But some college players are still going to make the jump for it. Well, I think the XFL make that much of an impact really on college football. Not really too much. But it's something to keep an eye on in regards to the coming seasons. Some players are going to jump to the XFL. Some college football players. Somewhere, someone's going to try it and try to buck the trend. Then again, they might just skip college. Like if they don't have the grades and they have to go to JUCO college, or if they're transferring and they have to sit out a year, why not play the XFL? They already can't play that season, so why not play a season in the XFL then jump out of it? Then again, if they're receiving loans, they could pay off their loans, a good chunk of their loans with $27,000. And let's say if you have $60,000 in loans, that's almost in half right there. So it's not crazy to think about something like this happening. So it's a very interesting topic. I'm kind of curious to see how it all goes. All right. Let's shift on to the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans suffered another loss to the Mavericks in overtime as their playoffs get further dim. This is not what the Pelicans needed at all. It's no secret that Zion Williamson, he feasts at the rim. The Mavericks had one of the best rim protectors in the league in 7'3" Porzingis, plus 6'2" Maxi Kimbler beside him. Those two made life difficult for Williamson. The Mavericks blocked 13 shots as they beat the Pelicans 127 to 123 in overtime Wednesday. The loss came a little more than 24 hours after New Orleans dropped the game at home to the struggling Timberwolves. New Orleans is 26-35, 5 games back out of 8th place Memphis with only 20 games remaining. They are a very good team, Pelicans coach Alvin Gentry said. He's shooting the ball much better from the perimeter than he was a month ago, in which he was referring to Porzingis. He's kind of showing in his scoring. Nikelio Millet hit a game-tying 3 with 7.4 seconds remaining, but in the extra period, Luka Doncic was too much. The Slovenian So the Pelicans' problem Tuesday was their inability to get stops. They were better on the defensive end Wednesday, but they were still slipping. Seth Curry, one of the league's 3-point marksmen, got loose for a wide-open three in the second quarter that caused Gentry to call a timeout in frustration. Curry drilled 6 of 9 threes overall, lighting up the Pelicans from behind the arc. His corner three with 36.3 seconds in regulation pushed Dallas ahead by 1. The Mavericks hit 22 threes and kept New Orleans from getting anything going inside as they combined for 10 blocks. The Pelicans from Lonzo Ball countered by bombing away from the outside. Ball came out scorching and never cooled off. He connected on 7 of 11 shots from behind the arc. This is how they went 7 of 10 from the 3 in the loss of the Timberwolves. The third-year guard came into the game shooting 37.1% from the outside, a career high. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Pelicans can get on a run and win at least it's going to be tough. They're 5 games back, so they're going to have to win a good bit of games. If I'm the Pelicans, they're going to need at least win probably half of these to even get a shot at it. To be safe for them getting in, I think it would be 50 wins. I would try to win 15 of those 20. I mean, you could try to win all of them, but it's going to be rough. So I don't think the Pelicans are going to make it, but we'll see what happens if it goes. We'll just see what happens from that point on. So they got killed behind the arc here. And while we are shifting gears now, LSU has a player that earned National Junior Conference Athletic Association honors, is the NJCAA. Peyton Lejeune helped lead LSU Eunice to a monster offensive weekend. The Church Point Turlings Catholic alum has been named the NJCAA Division II Player of the Week, the organization announced yesterday. It is Lejeune's first national honor of the season. The freshman becomes the second Bengal to become the National Player of the Week, joining Jack Merrifield. Lejeune was a major catalyst in a 5-win week that saw the Bengals take down Century, followed by a 4-game sweep on number 11 Kellogg Community College. In that span, LSU scored an eye-opening 78 runs with an average margin of victory of 14 runs. The freshman was 8 of 13 during the week with 7 RBIs, 7 runs scored, and 12 total bases. Lejeune had 2 doubles, a triple, and 2 stolen bases. One of the highlights of the weekend was Lejeune's 2-run triple to clinch a Mercy Rule walk-off win over Kellogg on Saturday, which resulted in a 10-0 win. Lejeune and the Bengals will hit the road this weekend, starting Saturday with a twin bill against South Suburban College and Coastal Bend College in Beeville, Texas. So congratulations to Peyton Lejeune on his honors. And that will do it here for the Fishbowl Radio. I want to thank y'all all for tuning in this week to the Fishbowl Radio. I've had a great time covering all this sports news we got going on this week. There's a lot more to catch up on, so make sure you keep it tuned here to the Fishbowl Radio, and we will be sure to keep y'all up to date about everything that's going on. Yesterday, UL softball got canceled because of severe weather in camp against Campbell, and LSU baseball also had to cancel their game because of severe weather that went through yesterday. So, I mean, hey, it's just the world of sports, and we're just living in it. So, thank y'all for tuning in, and we hope y'all have a great and wonderful night, day, weekend, whenever you're watching this. So, we will see y'all later on down the road. Thank y'all for tuning in.